Okay, here we are. Final Cut Pro Creative Summit 2023. I was going to say 2013, 2023. Right? And the last time we had an in-person one was 2019. No announcements, 2019. This time we had some great announcements from the Final Cut Pro team. We got to go to Apple campus for the first time. I guess you've been there before?
I have never been on the campus before. No, I've got no closer than you have.
Oh, I'll be darned. I would have thought being a developer maybe.
Well, being a developer will get you to the developer center, which is still just up from the Apple Park Apple Store.
Okay. There you go. So we had an update to Final Cut Pro 10.7.
Yes.
And as usual, no matter what you do, everybody's not going to be happy. I'm happy. I'm very happy. With the update.
I'm ecstatic with the update because it did not include text-based editing. And so that means that there's at least another 6 months live for...
I was wondering if you were going to put your hands up during if they showed that. That's true. That's very true.
I fully expect that at some point in time, Apple will do their own implementation of it within Final Cut Pro 10. That's fine. We were the first to bring it to Final Cut Pro in 2018. So people have been able to use text-based editing with Final Cut for the entire last 5 years and for the next 6 months, a year, 2 years.
5 years? That's incredible.
Yeah. In fact, Greg and I invented text-based editing back in 2010.
Okay.
We created an app largely for Serena Catania, many of you may know her. And Serena was doing some documentary work at the time, and we realized that the workflow could be so much better with text-based editing. If you're working, back in the day, you would print it out, cut it up into strips, and do all that, literally paper cuts.
Right. Exactly.
And so we created this app called Predit, Pre-Edit or Producer Edit, depending on how you like to interpret it, which we released in December of 2010.
Wait a minute. December of 2010 was before... You're kidding me.
It was for Final Cut Pro Classic. It was for Final Cut Pro 7.
Oh, I see.
And so something happened in 2011 that made it, that just never reached its true potential.
Right.
For some vague, obscure reason.
I think it was June the 20th, 2011, something, the Earth
Well,
shifted.
in actual fact, February, and it was first previewed to a bunch of Hollywood insiders.
Right.
And that got back to me very quickly, that we realized that the world was changing. And, it was kind of devastating for us. Everybody else had years to adjust to whether they would which direction they were going to go, move to Final Cut Pro 10, go to another platform. Nothing changed for 99.99% of editors when that announcement was made at the Super Meet.
Right.
On the other hand, it halved our business, our already precarious business, the next day. So we immediately, we got to the point where I wrote a book in order to pay rent.
Oh, I remember. You wrote. I bought those earlier PDFs and stuff.
Yeah, well, there was a book for Final Cut that we wrote in them. They gave me a quick 1 week preview, and in that time I wrote a short book called Mastering the Metadata Foundations of Final Cut Pro 10.
Yep, I still have that.
Which had consequences beyond what I expected to the directors of Focus and other people that were influenced by it that I never knew were influenced by it until many years later.
Right.
But within 3 weeks of Final Cut Pro being released, we already had another app on the marketplace, the little Event Manager 10, which we ran until Apple introduced libraries. Which I do say that part of the discussion that happened during the work we did with Apple to translate the old format of XML into the new format of XML, stimulated a lot of that discussion because we actually had to work out with them how we were going to translate sequences without a two-step process. In the discussion of the translation tools from Final Cut Classic to Final Cut Pro 10, they realized that there was going to have to be a better organization of less separation between events and projects, so a better organization. And typically it takes Apple a little while to get things right, to make sure they're working the way that they want them, we're going to work the same way for everybody. And so we got libraries in 10.1, which was great. So it was a little nice to know, to have that little bit of input into it and know that discussion came to fruition. We had a short-term solution by using compound clips, which was suggested by their lead architect, and it was a great suggestion.
Okay.
And at the same time, he said at the time, well, we'll have a much better solution in the longer term. And then 2 years later, libraries turn up and say, yeah, good job.
I use compound clips a lot in those days instead of regular timelines. I just use compound clips to open them. Something I really missed from that time, and they have never reintroduced it, the project library.
I know, the project library.
You still can't skim a project in the browser.
No. I guess that was something that was in the when it was effectively separated almost into two apps. It felt like it was, and yes, that was a lovely thing to see, be able to skim the project. No, we lost it, and I feel sad too.
And you can still skim it in the share menu now. You can skim the project in the share menu.
You can.
You can. I don't understand why you can skim it in the share menu, but it's just a static. You got to open it up in order to.
There's a reason, but I can't tell you
Well,
what it
I know
is.
that. Yeah, exactly.
There'll be an architectural reason.
Okay. So your latest product is
Yep.
Picture This.
That is correct.
Picture This, and tell us about that now.
Picture This is a way of generating images right from within your project timelines. So it uses generative AI, which is the buzzword of the year.
Exactly.
And then in particular, we're using Stable Diffusion. Now anyone can go to Stability AI. They can set up an account at Stable Diffusion, and you can do images.
Okay.
But what you would have to do is you'd have to make notes while you're doing your edit.
Lot of
Write down some
steps.
time. Go and put each image individually, upscale them, then bring
Right.
them into Final Cut, and then make an audition to actually preview them in the timeline. And what Picture This does is automate that entire process for you.
Incredible.
So as you're working, you make your prompts, what prompts is a technical term, description of the image that I want to generate,
Right.
to create, just as a to-do marker right in the timeline. When you've finished putting in your to-do markers, when you're ready to take a break, you just simply drag the project icon from the event into the Picture This interface. And the Picture This interface can optionally float, so it's very easy to put across there.
That's fantastic.
There are some technical reasons why we could not make that a workflow extension. No matter how much my heart desired to make it a workflow extension, we just couldn't. There are technical
Sure.
reasons why we
Sure.
can't. So once you're in our interface, you simply deactivate any prompts that you don't want to use, because there may be to-do markers that you've left for some other reason, and so you can simply say, no, I don't want images from Fix This. I don't want images to talk to James about that.
Sure.
So you can also make any last-minute adjustments, spelling errors, or just change your prompt at the last minute. You would also at that point choose how many variations you want for each prompt. So,
Oh, really?
Yes, you can. You go as little as one. Shoot for it. Like I'm feeling lucky in the Google days.
Right.
Or you can do as many as 10. Now, each iteration is going to take some time.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so that's the penalty.
Right.
You also choose the quality, which is just really about how many times it sort of keeps iterating on itself until it's happy. Normally, that's about 25, and that's perfectly fine. That's our default. It's perfectly fine for scenery, for general purpose food,
Sure.
those sort of things. Where you will want to crank it up and take a little time penalty is if you're including people. At the default setting, the people are somewhat grotesque. And so when you ramp it up, the combination of the higher iterations and the refiner model that we also have in there, that gives quite realistic results for humans. When you're ready, hit the button and take a break, because it's going to or go off and do something else productive. It's going to take about 1 to 3 minutes per image by the time we generate the image and then upscale it ready. What we do automatically is using another AI model within the app. We upscale it to twice the largest dimension of your project. So if you're working in 4K, you'll have 8K images to work
Wow,
with.
that's
And
great.
that allows you to zoom in
Right.
to 50% or 200% and still have a full image quality. The images are always generated square, so you have you can then frame them and position them and animate as you always would. And the Ken Burns effect is absolutely perfect for that. The real benefit of this phase is that it reintroduces the rendering break that editors have been losing over the last couple of years as everything has become real time. It used to be great. We'd have the opportunity to stop, think, reflect, and then go back to our edit. Everything's real time. It's action.
Right.
So we've reintroduced the render break for you.
There you go. That's perfect.
Or you can do something else productive while that's happening. Once that's complete, it would send back to Final Cut as a brand new project. And in the project is an audition for every prompt, so that it goes from the marker to the end of the piece of clip media that's underlying it.
Right.
Or it goes to the next marker if you're on a longer piece
Okay.
of media. and they are in auditions. And auditions, you people may remember auditions. They kind of
yeah.
and you can quickly cycle through all of the clips that are in an audition to see which ones work best in the context and which ones you like.
That's great.
And all the animation you create is unique to each clip in the audition.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, so it's something I learned in the part of this process.
You mean like the Ken Burns effect or something?
Yeah, so you can put a different Ken Burns effect on every one of those auditions to to maybe bring it to a producer to see
Right.
what works best or what they're happiest
Right.
with. Or if you're not happy with any of the choices, simply open up the to-do marker, uncheck the completed checkbox, and go back and do another pass.
And you can revisit a previous one by...
What we're doing with Picture This is we've released a basic app that is the general purpose app for everybody. And what we are planning to do is add additional features as in-app purchases for those people who want that. So for example, one option will be more control. We've hidden some of the controls to reduce complexity. There are some people who may want those controls.
Right.
Well,
right.
For a small extra purchase, you can have those permanently in your app.
Right.
And one of the things that we have planned for is to use image-to-image editing. So in two ways. One is that you can take an image that you've already got and start editing it again. So it's like, I want to start with this image as my prompt, but I want a variation on that image. And there's a seed,
seed, that's it, yeah.
It's just basically a random number that makes every image somewhat unique. But you can't go back and revisit an image unless you start with that same seed.
Right.
But if you start
exactly.
So Greg has very cleverly stored that seed within metadata within the image, so that when we introduce that feature, you'll be able to use an image, go back and prompt it again, or take any image from the timeline with a marker on it and start to iterate on that. So I did some fun stuff with a picture of our house and said, make it Japanese. And so
that's interesting.
It's, turning Japanese.
Yeah, tell us about your subscription model for this.
Well, there is no subscription model for this. It's you buy it once and it's yours forever. As I said, there will be optional in-app purchases.
Right.
We're also, one of those is going to be zoom out, so you'll be able to take an image and build an extra stage around that. If you want to take something vertical, make it horizontal, we'll be able to build that out for you, or just simply build a bigger stage and reduce the video image into that bigger stage. So it's got a development path that we'll be working on over the next couple of months.
Fantastic. Now, do you have a favorite feature from 10.7 when they introduced it?
I love the scrolling timeline. I mean, the other things are useful, and any individual editor will use them to one degree or the other. But to me, the scrolling timeline is the one that I will use every day. 100%
agree with you. Thank you very much, Philip Hodgetts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being a supporter here at the Creative Summit. Now, you gave attendees...
We gave everybody that wants one a copy of Picture This.
Now, you realize that's not a good business plan as far as making money. You realize, well, in the future, but not today.
Well, I have to say that my hope is that these people will enjoy it so much they will talk to somebody else and say, you've got to get this.
Absolutely.
And so if they don't, I just hope they enjoy it and get some benefit out of it.
No, they will. That's a great application. And what's the cost?
It's in the Mac App Store at $30, $29.99.
So that's fantastic. Very good. Thank you.